Also, if you are looking for something new and different for the upcoming Compliance Week celebration in November, check out The Compliance Kids. It's my 3-book children's series on compliance and compliance professionals for children. But they make great gifts and great training tools for your employees. You can check it out on Amazon.com. We've linked to it in the show notes.
Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
First, a word from this month's sponsor, Ethico.
If you're a compliance officer, middle managers are crucial in getting your programs from you to your frontline employees. But how do we activate those managers and get them on our side? Ethico's new Middle Manager Toolkit equips you with the skills needed to empower your managers, to promote a culture where ethical behavior thrives and employees feel empowered to speak up. Learn how to turn frontline managers into ethical leaders with our new white paper, Empowering Middle Managers as Ethics Champions. And did I mention you can get the whole toolkit for free? Head to ethico.com to download the full toolkit today.
The Daily Compliance News for September 19, 2024, the Woj Retires episode. Other than the Astros, I don't talk too much about sports on this episode, or this podcast rather, but today I want to tip my hat to Adrian Wojnarowski, or Woj, who completely changed sports reporting, and specifically in the NBA. He is retiring at the age of 55 from ESPN and is going to work for his alma mater, St. Bonaventure, as the general manager of their sports department. He has been a reporter all his life, starting in Connecticut and New Jersey. He did TV. He went to ESPN, Yahoo, then ESPN, and he broke more stories than literally anyone I know in the NBA. He was the hardest working guy in the NBA. So tip of the hat to Woj. Next up, from Al Jazeera, it reports that the U.S. Department of Justice has sued the Singapore-based owner and operator of the cargo tanker that slammed into Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore earlier this year. They're suing Grace Ocean Private and Synergy Marine Private for $100 million for the collision. Next up, from the Financial Times, it reports that JPMorgan, which got in a lot of trouble for its bankers working such inane hours, like 100 hours a week, has tasked one of its bankers with overseeing the company's junior bank program in the response to these concerns. So we've got one banker overseeing the junior bankers and hopefully capping those hours at, or the work hours at 80 hours a week. Good luck. And our final story comes to us from Bloomberg, somewhat dispiriting news that the hacker behind the Syncora hack breach received a total of $75 million, the largest known cyber extortion payment ever made. The payment was made in 3 installments in Bitcoin in March, and the initial ransom demand was $75 million, and it was negotiated down. This was reported in a regulatory filing. If this doesn't get your attention about the inflation for ransomware attacks under cybersecurity, really nothing will. And if you're going to have to spend $75 million or perhaps even up to $150 million, I hope you have some very robust insurance, although that may not be enough going forward. So even in ransomware, high inflation, I wonder if they're going to vote for Harris or Trump. Good luck. As I mentioned at the start of this podcast, the sponsor for the entire Compliance Podcast Network is Ethico. Well, Ethico has a great new offering this month for you, a toolkit for middle managers. This is something that you, as the compliance professional, can use to move your compliance program forward by giving middle managers the skills necessary to answer a call for speak up or when someone comes in their office and raises a concern. I can't think of a tool that will be more valuable for you in the current era of enforcement. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.